6. Microsoft Augmented Reality Headset. In recent years, Microsoft has worked with the United States Army to create mixed reality headsets that are designed for preparing soldiers for combat situations. Known as the Integrated Visual Augmentation System, or IVAS, it delivers an experience similar to that of the Microsoft HoloLens 2 mixed reality headset, which runs at a cost of roughly $3,500 per headset. The prototype of the military goggles hit a snag during the testing phase in 2022, when soldiers reported experiencing headaches, nausea, and eye strain. In early 2023, Congress denied the Army's request for $400 million in funding, which it planned to spend on up to 6,900 headsets. Instead, the government provided $40 million for the purpose of improving the flawed system, which was promptly handed over to Microsoft, along with $125 million of the Army's money. Altogether, the project is expected to cost $21.9 billion. In September 2023, the military announced that these initial problems had been resolved via the development of an improved prototype. 20 headsets were tested by Army soldiers, who responded positively to the design changes. Testing will continue for the foreseeable future, with current plans calling for the goggles to be tested for combat use starting in 2025. 5. Armed autonomous robots. As artificial intelligence technology advances, some people are growing increasingly concerned about the development of lethal autonomous weapons. Others, including U.S. Army officials, are seemingly excited about it. Completely autonomous weapon systems do not yet exist, but the U.S. military has been actively working to develop combat robots for over a decade. Amid the ongoing war in Ukraine and the rising tensions between the U.S. and China, developers have increasingly shifted their focus on optimizing these systems for use in combat. In August 2023, U.S. Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks announced a new program called the Replicator Initiative, which seeks to develop thousands of autonomous weapon systems over a 2-year period for all branches of the military. She emphasized the urgent need to innovate when it comes to countering the perceived growing threat of a war with China. According to Hicks, America's biggest challenge will be to overcome China's primary advantage: the sheer number of ships, missiles, and people that it has compared to the United States. She said that the answer is not to match China ship for ship and shot for shot, but to outmatch U.S. adversaries by outthinking, outstrategizing, and outmaneuvering them. And while Hicks didn't explicitly mention AI technology, she described the need for autonomous systems that are attritable, which means that they're affordable enough to lose in the event of something going wrong during a high-profile mission. Supporters of AI weapons tout the advantages of being able to carry out missions from a safe distance, putting fewer lives at risk. Those who oppose the technology fear that these newly developed robots could go rogue and cause unintended damage, including by malfunctioning and launching an attack when they're not supposed to. At least 30 countries, including Austria, Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Ecuador, Egypt, Guatemala, Morocco, Namibia, and New Zealand, support a global ban on lethal autonomous weapons. Countries that are deeply involved in the development of these so-called killer robots, including the US, Russia, and Israel, are staunchly against the proposed policy. 4. The Dark Eagle. In July of 2023, the U.S. Army announced that the development of its first long-range hypersonic weapon system was underway. The news came amid a rising interest among American officials in hypersonic technology, which includes weapons and vehicles that are capable of traveling at more than 5 times the speed of sound. While delivering an announcement, Army Secretary Christine Wormuth emphasized the importance of being able to hit targets from very long ranges in the event of a conflict in the Indo-Pacific. More specifically, this was a reference to the increasing tensions between the US and China, which have sparked growing fears that the two countries will inevitably come to blows. While Wormuth said that she did not think war with China is inevitable, she said that being prepared is key to stopping something like that from happening. According to an official report, the long-range hypersonic weapon, dubbed the Dark Eagle by the Army, is designed to fly among the upper limits of the atmosphere, higher than any known air and missile defense systems are capable of traveling. This makes it difficult to detect and puts it out of the range of air and missile defense systems. The LRHW is powered by a Lockheed-built rocket booster, which carries the unpowered Common Hypersonic Glide Body to a high enough altitude and speed for it to travel to its destination at hypersonic speeds. It has a 1,750-mile, 2,800-kilometer range and can reach speeds in excess of 3,800 miles per hour, 6,100 kilometers per hour. As of September 2023, the LRHW was still in its testing phase. The Army missed its original intended deadline of fielding the system by the end of the fiscal year, but reportedly still hopes to achieve its goal by the end of the 2023 calendar year, and has confidently stated that the LRHW will be operational in the very near future. After the most recent scheduled test flight was canceled for unspecified reasons, Army spokesperson Doug Bush told Defense News that there were problems with the weapon. He declined to go into detail about the specific nature of these issues, but said that it was good that they were being discovered. The Navy is reportedly working to develop a sea-launched variant of the LRHW, with plans to field it into service in 2025. 3. 3D printed munitions and vehicles. In 2021, the U.S. Department of Defense released a statement outlining its first-ever strategy for additive manufacturing, better known as 3D printing. The plan was created with a focus on modernizing long-range precision fires and next-generation combat vehicles. Army officials believe that using 3D printing to manufacture munitions could save millions of dollars per year, making supply chains more resilient at a time when the defense budget is constrained by spending limits and rising costs. The technology has the potential to make innovation more affordable, which would help to fulfill the Army's modernization goals. 3D printing could also save big bucks when it comes to acquiring parts that are no longer commonly made, and which come at an extraordinarily high price from current suppliers. 3D printing is also extremely useful for creating needed materials on demand in a short period of time, and with fewer hands than traditional manufacturing requires. One of the Army Research Laboratory's top priorities in recent years has been to expand its capabilities to produce 3D printed parts. In April 2021, the Army signed a contract for its Jointless Hull project, which seeks to develop a massive 3D metal printer that's capable of producing combat vehicle hulls measuring 30 by 20 by 12 feet, 9.1 by 6.1 by 3.7 meters in size. The project was launched as part of the Army's goal to achieve land superiority when it comes to the firepower, speed, and survivability of its vehicles. In 2019, the U.S. Marines partnered with the Defense Innovation Unit to create 3D printers that are capable of producing buildings, bridges, and other large structures. This time and cost-saving technology would come in especially handy in the aftermath of natural disasters. The initiative marked one of its first major accomplishments in 2020 with the successful creation of a 3D printed vehicle hide structure. After receiving just a few hours of training, 8 Marines at Camp Pendleton operated the equipment throughout the entire process of printing the shelter. They completed the print in 36 hours, well ahead of their 40 to 48-hour goal, with almost zero time spent on troubleshooting. One of the biggest setbacks that the military faces with additive manufacturing is the tendency for 3D printed items to lack the same mechanical properties as traditionally produced parts. With the need for parts to withstand extreme conditions, foregoing quality is not an option, and this is one of the challenges that developers are working to overcome. 3D printers also pose issues when it comes to consistency. According to National Defense magazine, the technology is not advanced enough to guarantee that a part from one printer will be identical to the same part created by another printer. But the potential benefits vastly outweigh the complications that have been encountered so far, with some experts going as far as saying that the possibilities are endless. If you could choose one item to have an unlimited 3D printed supply of, what would it be and why? Let me know in the comments below, but be sure to subscribe first. 2. Directed energy weapons. Directed energy weapons deter, damage, and destroy their targets using highly concentrated beams of energy, including lasers, microwaves, particle beams, and sound beams. They emit electromagnetic energy at the speed of light and have varying levels of power output based on the type of weapon. High-energy lasers typically have a power output of 1 kilowatt, roughly 200,000 times that of a laser pointer. They produce an extremely narrow beam of light which is capable of melting steel, and are typically used on one target at a time. With a larger beam size than high-energy lasers, millimeter wave weapons and high-power microwave weapons are capable of striking multiple targets at once. The most mild DEWs are used as a deterrent. They inflict uncomfortable symptoms on their targets as a way of keeping people outside a designated area, but do not appear to cause any long-term damage. In most cases, the symptoms go away after someone leaves the targeted area. One such weapon, known as the active denial system, causes a heating sensation by interacting with the water and fat molecules in a person's skin. Other DEWs are designed to obscure the target's vision by creating a glare. Known as dazzling, this is potentially useful as a warning to an enemy before resorting to physical force. Some DEWs use sound. The long-range acoustic device, or LRAD, broadcasts messages at an extremely high volume. It's used for communicating out loud over long distances and as a form of non-lethal, non-projectile crowd control. This high-powered sound cannon also functions as an anti-piracy measure on ships. Multiple branches of the US military are actively researching the potential use of these systems for counter-drone missions and as a defense against ballistic and hypersonic missiles. One of the major advantages of directed energy weapons is the ability to use them discreetly. They don't make any noise and are invisible to anyone outside the visible spectrum. And with virtually unlimited firepower, they may prove significantly cheaper to use than conventional weapons. Directed energy weapons do come with disadvantages. They typically have a shorter range than traditional weapons and are sometimes rendered less effective in certain weather conditions like fog and storms. It's also unclear whether they pose any long-term health effects, and there are numerous other ethical dilemmas, including the potential of harming an unintended target. 1. E-bombs. Most people in first-world countries think of power outages as inconvenient and annoying. But a large-scale loss of electricity could wreak havoc on civilian life and interfere with government and military operations in utterly devastating ways. In many places, the dependency on power is so great that leading parties would not be able to function for very long without it. For decades, weapon developers have entertained the idea of using electromagnetic radiation to cause massive power outages that would knock out any machines that use electricity, including generators, cars, telephones, and computer and communication systems. This could be accomplished through the use of electromagnetic pulse, or EMP weapons, also known as E-bombs. These systems are designed to emit an intense electromagnetic signal into the atmosphere, which would generate a massive electrical current capable of destroying any and all objects that conduct electricity. Power lines, phone lines, and the devices hooked up to them would all be at risk of being taken out. E-bombs would also have the potential to destroy transformers and semiconductor devices, causing destruction on a level where even basic radios would be rendered useless. During the 1950s, American officials became worried about the possibility of an electromagnetic attack on the United States. The U.S. military unintentionally got a first-hand taste of how destructive electromagnetic energy can be while testing a hydrogen bomb in the Pacific in 1958. The blast was so powerful that it induced an intense magnetic field, which produced intense electrical currents that destroyed streetlights in Hawaii and interfered with radio equipment as far away as Australia. After realizing how destructive electromagnetic energy could be, the US government began to worry that the Soviet Union would drop a nuclear bomb from an altitude high enough to cause more far-reaching effects. Their primary fear was that electrical equipment across the country would be knocked out. More recently, fears about EMPs have shifted toward their potential to destroy an area's digital infrastructure. In 2012, the US military successfully deployed a Boeing EMP missile as part of its counter-electronics high-power microwave advanced missile project, CHAMP. The weapon destroyed 7 electrical targets while flying over the Utah desert, including a collection of computers inside a building that all went black as it passed by, and then self-destructed in midair. In a statement, Boeing claimed that the EMP even took out the cameras that were monitoring the test. As of 2022, the military was working to develop an improved version of the CHAMP called the High-Powered Joint Electromagnetic Non-Kinetic Strike Weapon, HIJANKS. The major benefit of EMPs is the ability to render an entire area helpless without physically harming any people or structures, making it non-lethal yet highly destructive. But the technology is far from the point of being put into service. And the major objective of America's EMP developments so far has been to prove that a weapon of its kind is realistic in the first place. Thanks for watching. Which tech shocked you the most? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. See you soon. Bye.